This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 337, an excerpt from the book Zen Zone by Szenderski, and I'm Justin Malik. Welcome, fellow oldie, and don't worry, I'm not calling you old. Old, or OLD, is short for Optimal Living Daily, and this is where I read to you from some amazing authors with their permission, usually from blogs, but sometimes from books, like today. I got my hands on Zen Zone from Szenderski. He's an author, obviously, but also a teacher, a speaker, and branding specialist. I've had his book for a while now and found it to be really unique. It's like a collection of stories or anecdotes with lessons, which is a great way to learn. It's easier to remember stories and they come back to you in certain situations. But anyway, I've had the book for a couple of months, I think, and I only now realize that he teaches branding right down the street from me at the University of California, Irvine, which is crazy. And really quick, I'll just say, if you like this show, please hang around until the end. There just might be a little bonus if you do. So with that, let's hear an excerpt from the book, one of the many stories in it, as we optimize your life. An excerpt from the book Zen Zone by Szenderski. Josh had been a good reporter with an eye for news, tempered with real empathy for those who found themselves reluctantly in the headlines. He was the kind of person that people felt they could talk to. As a reporter, this served him well, and so when the executive producer told him that he was in line to become the evening news anchor, he was pleased, but not surprised. Josh had learned the news by working a beat for the daily newspaper. When one is reporting for a newspaper, they know that the broadcasters in their market would jump on whatever it was that they could uncover and get printed into the morning edition. Josh would often smile as he heard the radio news reporting on something that he had discovered and reported on, but they had taken to be their exclusive. The fact was that most of the radio and TV stations routinely got their news from the morning paper. When Josh was hired away to work on one of the local TV independents news programs, he felt strangely distanced from the real news, less a reporter and more of a talent. But again, his empathy proved to be a valuable asset, and when people would tell him stories on camera, they did so with a real desire to let what they were feeling be exposed. For the last few years, Josh had worked his empathetic magic into numerous awards, including some local Emmys. Although still quite young by comparison to other seasoned news professionals, Josh had become the heir apparent for Richard, who had commanded the evening news anchor chair for over 18 years. This year, Richard had suffered from some medical problems, which produced a chronic and raspy cough that clipped his words and slowed his presentation. His usual crisp delivery of the day's important stories and issues had lost its intensity. Everybody at the station and in the industry knew that it was only a matter of time before he'd step down. For Josh, it couldn't come soon enough. Josh patiently waited and did his normal in-depth coverage of the day's stories of the people that created and were affected by the goings-on of the world. Meanwhile, Richard, raspy cough and all, had grown big in the ratings, which seemed to give him a new source of energy and pride. Richard would boast that as the oldest anchor in the market, he still brought in the biggest audience. The executive producer would shrug his shoulders when Josh would inquire about the timing for taking the reins. 2 years had passed since the first hint that he would take command. Over that time, he had resisted other offers and opportunities and had unwittingly sunk into a holding pattern fueled by what he discerned to be high and real expectations for his future. Richard amazingly continued for another 6 years, and when Josh's time finally came, he was passed over by someone younger and untainted by being the guy waiting in the wings. Josh was told that he had lost his edge and seemed to be too passive for the position. What Josh had expected and wanted to happen never did. And in that waiting, he had lost opportunities and inexplicably his drive. Waiting for and expecting something to happen can freeze a person into a stall. It's why expectations need to be tempered by frequent reality checks. Is there something you're waiting for? Something promised, negotiated, obvious, and unavoidable? Think again. Nothing is for sure until it's already happened. Setting expectations is normal and necessary, but relying on them to take fruition can be dangerous and risky. The new job, promotion, new contract, raises, or whatever we think is inevitable may simply never happen. The reason expectations often don't materialize is that they require actions from other people, and as we all know, no one can ever predict the actions of another. When we hold on to a desired outcome too long, we can become stuck and in a waiting posture, and we become less creative. The best we can do is to stay focused on our goals, yet remain open to possibilities. Remember that even though we can't control the actions of others, their actions might be exactly what we need, and that's an outcome we can live with but never predict. Zenipit. The bank of the unknown must clear an expectation before it's added to your account. You just listened to an excerpt from the book Zen Zone by Gary Szenderski. You can find the book and more stories at zenzone.com, and Zen is spelled how his last name is spelled. That's S-Z-E-N. There's a link in this episode description at oldpodcast.com. I highly recommend checking out his site and his books. And now I hinted that there might be a special reason to listen through to the end. I'm going to give away a copy of his book. I have it right here. See, here it is. This is going to someone random who is on my email list at midnight tonight. I'll pick someone totally random and email the winner. So to join and be in that raffle, it's totally free. Just come by oldpodcast.com and enter your email address there. Or you can join really quickly by texting the word optimal to the number 44222. It's super easy, it's super free, and you'll be entered to win this book and more in just a couple weeks. And that's it for today. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you in tomorrow's show where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.